My first meal with potatoes from the ground. It's been 2 weeks and 1 day since I was last here, and since then I finally have red tomatoes. Let's see what it looks like on the inside. There's some big tomatoes on the way. Everything is growing outwards. Soon I'll have to get back to work on the rocket stove. It should be cooling down in the coming months. Here are the white radishes. They're going to seed. Transplanted. This is, I think, an endive. And here's tomatillos. Here I've got some pumpkins growing out. This whole area is taken off. Here, if I'm not mistaken, when the leaves start dying, it means I can start pulling potatoes out. Let's see. Got some potatoes here. Great. Not a bad start though. Here, not too much new. Look at this guy. Oh, I did not water these plants once, and this is how they've been faring. Now, I've not seen what the asparagus look like. So these past 2 weeks I've been on vacation. I went to the seaside to Nida for a week, though I was a little bit worried about leaving my lands for such a long time. I had some realizations about what could make this land here better, how I could make it more enjoyable, especially since I fell in love with Nida. I have childhood memories from that place, and it took me a while to realize what I like about that place. Nida has a lot of different locations all in one area where it's all very fun to be around, and it's either healthy for me. For example, I have my workspace in a cafe there, and then I want to go exercise. There's an exercise area by the lagoon, or I can go swimming by the lake. And I realized that coming back here, that I only have one area where I like to spend my time in. I'm lacking in these other locales where I can do different things. Anyways, here are my asparagus plants. Got some. It's getting really overgrown here, but everything is growing fine. These tomatoes are taking off. See how the cucumbers are doing. Not too well, though they are giving some flowers out. Wow! The Jerusalem artichoke is growing like crazy. Now that I'm back here, I'm gonna try to focus on making some different areas where I like an area to exercise, an area to write, and it'd be really cool to clear an area by the river over there where it's fun to just hang out in the shade and not be all sweaty and just enjoy life for a little. Maybe even exercise there. That'd be a good idea. Yes. So I saw a YouTube video explaining that there's a number of plants that you can plant in the beginning of fall. So early August. Stuff like spinach, beets, other perennials. Like I have this area here where it used to be mustard wasabi growing, but it dried out as I haven't been here. So I'm going to try to start off some wormwood once more. I'm going to try to grow bergamot and catnip. And then I'm going to plant these out there by the greenhouse. And the idea is that if they grow like the rest of the plants here, I don't want to have to take care of them. I'll help them start off by watering them in the beginning, helping them take root, but I'm hoping that the rain can take care of the actual rest of the growing part. Today was a day of planting seeds in general. I noticed that throughout the season, some seeds didn't turn out. For some things I planted, a lot of things did survive. So I'm realizing I need to plant more things just to see how it grows. Like this is a good example. I threw down buckwheat seeds and I'm not watering them. They're growing fine. Here I planted bergamot, wormwood. And here I planted catnip because I'm focused on getting into writing, and it's only when I get stoned do I analyze other parts of my daily life, like what sort of habits do I want. And I'm realizing I want more of a writing habit, so I need to separate my writing space from where I'm living, cooking, eating. Once you get more into a writing mood, and I know that I can't work around in the kitchen, I'm going to move my hammock elsewhere and find an area where I could just chill and write in, which I won't associate with the same area I am always in. Just set this hammock up here, and I will get my iPad, and I'll see how it works to work from here. I lost my GoPro for a day. Turns out it was in the hammock. And today has been a lot of thinking. I'm thinking where I'm going to start my first permaculture land plot project, aka the first area that I'm going to intensely focus on with all 7 layers of plants that can grow on there, from things ground cover to things to roots to the big trees, which I don't really have any yet. None of these trees are mature, so I need to think of what trees will I want 40, 50 years from now. What will they look like? Here I'm walking towards the area. I call it the corridor because there's this set of trees which I'm walking through right now, and then there's those trees over there, and between here it makes a sort of corridor, hence the name corridor. I'm thinking of reworking this entire area. I ordered 4 or 5 bales of straw or hay, whatever the neighbor has. Before I leave here this winter, I want to sheet mulch as much as I can all of this area, and certain things will need to be transplanted or moved. This oak tree will stay already grounded, but I'm not tied to any of these pine trees or birch trees. Since they're fast growing, they can adapt anywhere. They're more disposable. However, I don't want to make any rash, quick judgments, and so I'm going to focus on this one area. I already gathered a soil sample. Hopefully my mom can test that out for me, of land soil from here. I'd like to start by filling this area up with fruit-giving trees, vines, plants, everything in between. So part of my initial assessment, there's a well-established apple tree. There's a lot of thyme and strawberries and birch trees and these plants, which I don't know the name for yet. There's even mushrooms growing here. I'm not familiar with what this plant is or why there are berries coming from a leaf. Yeah, so I'm wandering around back and forth here trying to get a feel for this land. And if I have any ideas, I'll jot them down. This is my first time doing this, so it's kind of difficult knowing how to start, besides getting a feel for it. And then decide to climb up into the tree. Oh, I'm realizing I want to exercise more, and I forgot how fun it is to climb trees. And I can use that at the same time to explore and map out my area. If anyone ever wonders why my clothes are all full of holes, it's because of this. Here's a Nice view of the land that I'm going to work with. And there's the neighbors. There's some storks flying. And there's the other side. And so yesterday I forgot the varieties that I planted, but here I planted albino ice beets. Here my mom planted suede borage variety. And here's some more of that. And here I planted black radishes mixed with choja beets. I'm going to push in the soil so that the seeds can germinate. I planted some echinaceas here. And then I planted in the new garden. Here in this row I planted French sorrel. And in this back row I planted kale, the same thing I have growing in the greenhouse. And here I have a Japanese mibuna. And then in the back I have some good King Henry. And then here I just planted multicolored Swiss chard. So it'll be interesting to see what pops out, what doesn't. I'm going to be mostly focused with this food forest and not so much with these side distractions like vegetables, these things that I need to survive. This morning I watered these very well, and yesterday I tied some more of them up. So they're taking over the other side of the greenhouse. Today I got very little sleep last night. I fell asleep at 4 o'clock and I went to bed at 10 o'clock. So a lot of time was spent just in my head and waiting for the sleep to come on, but it didn't for a very long time, and I tried very many different things, but it could have had to do with the excitement and what I did yesterday. I'm realizing I forgot to write down my intentions, even though last night I thought about it before going to sleep, and I feel just the act of not having written down, it kind of makes today's intention less real. My intention was to fix my water situation because this bucket was currently out of order with a broken handle. My bucket broke 2 days ago when I dropped it into the well to fill it up as I normally do. This piece came off, so now I'm trying to build a fix to this so that this screw can fit into this metal hole. I had to bend this wire a little bit so that it would turn like this. There, it doesn't swing anymore, but at least it's secure. I can return it back to the well. Every now and then the water tank gets empty, and I have to do my usual routine until I get this damn pump finished. The next step in the pump project is to go back down there, tear off the bottom 1 meter pipe, and basically cut it loose so I can pull it apart. And then I will use this 3 meter long pipe as the bottom piece. The problem with the last one was that the water was above the pipe connection, so I had no way to fasten these down. But with a 3 meter long pipe, I only have to fasten down the top part of it. So my bucket is now back in the bottom of the well, and I know that I'll have to go down and get there. And I'm not surprised anymore. This is becoming like a normal routine of fetching things from the bottom of the well. But I think the problem was here, that when I connected the bucket, I needed to flip this around so that the mouth of the hook was less inclined to open up when the bucket hits the side of the wall. Either that or I broke the bucket. Yesterday I returned a bicycle, the spare one that a neighbor had left me, and I left the bike with them and I decided to run the 5 kilometers back, and I got lost, but I came across a bush of berries and they're so delicious. And they're right in season right now, so I want to bring them over to my land and try to grow them here because it's such a good variety. It's black raspberry or something. So I researched how to propagate seeds from berries as well as cherries. Turns out I have to put them in a fridge or wait for winter to do its wintering thing before I can start planting them from seed. Finally a sunny day after several days of just being overcast, and it rained a good amount yesterday. Today I'm going to try to separate some of these tiny asparagus without damaging them, if at all possible, and then transplanting them somewhere before they get too big and their roots get even more tangled up, causing even more damage if I try to separate them. So I think I'll plant them in this corner, and I'll try to use up as much of this everywhere where there's straw over there. I'll try to maybe even plant something there. See how many seeds I have to go through. I'd also like to plant more Swiss chard, just because I saw that it's not too late to grow it at this point in the season, and it should be pretty cold hardy. And if it rains like it did rain last night, then I should be able to get free food for nothing just for having planted it. I'm carefully breaking up each plot and taking one plant at a time, and transplanted one of the rhubarbs here, and here the asparagus will go. Here's the basil is growing around, and there's so many of them here, I might as well plant a third of them before they get all root bound. Here I transplanted one right into here, I neatly patched it up. Now I'm going through and planting the Swiss chard. I'm making the holes, and I'm wondering, there's probably a better tool than this, because I realize I'm compacting the seed hole, which I'll be preparing for the seed. And I'm wondering what kind of effect that might have on the propagation of the seed. If it might need lighter, fluffier soil underneath to take hold. We'll see. So for the other half of this garden bed, I will be trying out the stab approach, just loosening the ground with a dagger. And I'll put one here. And then throwing the seed in that way. And this has been a slow habit for me to pick up this season, that to grow a plant, you take a seed, drop it into a hole, drop several of them, and then you close it up, make sure that there's no air pockets. Making a little iteration by circling where I planted them with straw for some added mulching. We'll see if that helps at all.